Look for the giant rooftop donut at Sahara and Rainbow and get ready for a taste sensation like no other. Since 1952, Randy's Donuts is consistently named one of the top donut shops in the country, and there's little wonder why. And oh my God, the variety. Glazed, raised, sprinkled, long johns, cinnamon rolls, crullers, fritters, bear claws. I'm getting hungry. Randy's Donuts, 2170 South Rainbow, at the northeast corner of Sahara and Rainbow. Randy's Donuts, always alive, but always worth the wait. Visit randysdonuts.com or just stop by at the northeast corner of Sahara and Rainbow. You've seen Randy's Donuts in the movies. Now taste them for real. One taste and you'll be back again and again. Randy's Donuts, 2170 South Rainbow, at the northeast corner of Sahara and Rainbow.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Thursday, Pushing the Limits time. He's Guy David. I'm Brian Shapiro. Been called other things. It's so pathetic. I've been wasting my time the last 20 minutes arguing with a bunch of idiots on social media.
We didn't get to prep for this show. I didn't really get to speak to you. Ignored me. I don't think you can remember anything I said because all I heard was type.
I'm wasting my time with complete morons. Anyway.
And it's put you in a bad mood.
I digress.
They won.
I digress. No, they definitely didn't
You're 0,
win.
they're 1.
They definitely didn't win.
They took up all your time.
But anyway, sometimes they do. But we have a big show lined up for you today. Great guests. We all know what happened on that ill-fated submersible. And the people we have coming in studio right now, self-made billionaire, real estate mogul Jay Bloom and his son were supposed to be on that submersible. It's crazy. They were speaking to the CEO who actually died in that submersible. They're going to be coming in studio and telling their story. Also, not just talking to them about that, but this is a guy who's been trying to bring, and he's still trying to bring an NBA team to Las Vegas. So much to get to with him. But I want to get right into the biggest story of the day.
Just breaking, this morning.
Yeah, and it's an important story.
Yep.
And it's a story about race. It's a story about affirmative action that the Supreme Court ruled on. And there will be no affirmative action, according to the Supreme Court, when it comes to college admissions. In the last several hours, I've been called a racist by a lot of people. And let me start by saying this because of my opinions on this. And, Guy, I think you and I are going to disagree on this, and that's great. That's fine.
Well, I want to hear what you're going to say first.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
Let me just start by preface it by saying this. I was a part of the Black Lives Matter movement. I work with the local NAACP. I'm a champion of wanting equality. I believe systemic racism not only exists, but I can't stand racist, hatred people. I'm the last person that anybody who knows me personally. Now, listen, if you don't know me personally, it doesn't really bother me if you call me a racist because you don't know me. But any of my family, friends, people that know me would tell you I'm the opposite of that, okay? And I'm not going to play the card like Donald Trump, oh, I have black friends and, oh, this black friend. No. So I'm on the side of the Black Lives Matter movement, and I'm on the side of equality. I wanted to start off by saying that, but I disagree with affirmative action. For the most part, there are exceptions. Here's why. And now I'm speaking specifically about what the Supreme Court ruled on. If you have a white person, and I'm just giving this as an example. If you have a white student, 18 years old, 4.0 GPA, tons of extracurriculars, and you have a black student with a 3.0 GPA, not as many extracurriculars. To me, you cannot justify accepting that black student because they're black. To me, that is the definition of racism. Now, if you have two students that are very equal in those categories, then I'm okay with choosing a minority. No problem. But in this country, There's no question that there are black students that haven't gotten into certain universities, sadly, probably because of racism. Guess what? If that does happen, I want the university to pay for it. I want them to be sued. Show the proof, get an attorney. There are plenty of attorneys you could hire for free, considering, the ACLU and many other entities. I don't want ever a university to choose somebody because of the color of their skin. I understand that there is systemic racism. I understand that black people have been the victims of that and still are. And I am not saying that black people can't get into university or haven't been able to get into universities because of the color of their skin. It's happened. It continues to happen, I'm sure. I don't want it to happen. But when you say to people, I'm going to choose you over you just because of the color of your skin, that is the definition of racism. And that is why I agree with the Supreme Court's decision. I normally do not agree with them, many of them conservatives. You cannot justify to me an 18-year-old kid. I'm going to assume in this situation, not every white person is racist. An 18-year-old kid with a nice family who's done everything right, 4.0 GPA, all the extracurricular activities, works at a soup kitchen, whatever the case. And you're going to tell that person that we're going to choose a black person over you because of the color of their skin, even though they don't have better grades than you. They don't have the extracurriculars. But you know what? They came from a broken home, and they're black. That's not how this country should work. And it goes both ways. Right, Guy? It goes both ways. If a black person doesn't get into a university because they're black, then I want that university to pay. I want that university to pay big time, and I want it to go public. So yes, it goes both ways. But I know people personally in the sports world alone that haven't gotten jobs as coaches because they're white. Now, I know that's also happened because they're black. You should be chosen for a job because of your qualifications, not because the color of your skin. And that doesn't make me a racist to say that. I agree with the Supreme Court and what they did. I'm not a racist. I want people to be treated as equals. And if you are black and you want people to be treated as equals, then why would you want to be chosen because you're black? And if you're going to make the claim, well, because of slavery or because of systemic racism, I get all those atrocities and those horrible things, but that still isn't justification to choose somebody over somebody else because you're black or you're white, or you're Hispanic or you're white, and it goes vice versa. I go the other route as well. I want that 18-year-old to be chosen because of what they've done in their life. And I give credit to somebody who is a minority, who came from a poor family, who worked really hard in their life and got the grades. I praise you for that. And maybe if you're white and you're privileged and you come from an extremely wealthy family and you got straight A's in a private school, maybe you could make that argument that that person who is a minority who came from a poor family, if the grades are close. That's what I'm saying. But in too many instances that I know of, people are chosen because of the color of their skin, and that is wrong. And I'm the racist because I want people treated as equals? You can't talk about equality and then tell me you want to be chosen because of the color of your skin. Guy, what do you say and why do you disagree? I would imagine you do.
I just think you're forgetting something.
Okay.
I think what you say is completely fair. And you are just not a racist. You're actually the furthest person from a racist I've ever known. I'm going to preface it with that. But here's what you're forgetting. The Supreme Court ruled on affirmative affirmation. Mm-hmm. And you did say this. It's not just any minority can get into a school. It's a qualified pool of candidates. They have to have a certain GPA. And you said maybe they've got a 3, maybe the white person has a 4 GPA. Still not fair. But it's not just anyone can get into a college. There is a criteria to it. There's just a double standard here. There's something called legacy affirmation, which is affirmative action for whites. It's affirmative action for the rich. Mm-hmm. It's affirmative action for highly educated,
which I disagree with,
wealthy people.
I disagree
with
that.
And that continues today, and I see that all the time. People, alumni paying the school a lot of money. Their children get in. I've seen, and it continues today, and they did not rule on that at all. It is basically legacy affirmation. It is for the rich people that continue get into college over the minorities that didn't have the successful parents. And I want to give you one example of this. Jared Kushner.
Mm-hmm.
He went to Harvard. He didn't have exceptionally good grades.
Yeah.
His father, who went to prison, but before he went to prison, was very, very successful. He pretty much paid for Jared Kushner to get into Harvard. He had good grades. He didn't have great grades.
Let me comment
That's
on that.
legacy affirmation.
Yeah.
So that continues to stand today.
Sure.
And now affirmative affirmation's gone. That is not equal to me.
Okay, so I agree with you. 100%. If you are wealthy and rich and you buy your way into a school, that's also wrong. And that needs to stop. I'm with you 100%. I'm just saying that, one wrong doesn't make a right here. I want them both to stop. I don't want people being admitted into schools because they're wealthy. I don't want people being admitted into schools over another race because they're white. I also don't want people getting into schools because they're black either. I want people getting in not based on family history or money or donations, because of what they've accomplished in high school, their grades, extracurriculars. And if we truly want people to be treated as equals, then we have to take it from both sides. And I agree with you. A guy like a Jared Kushner is a disgrace. He's a disgrace. His father paid his way to get into Harvard. I agree. And if that stops somebody black who accomplished more than Jared Kushner in high school, then that's racist and that's wrong, and I want that being addressed as well. But why can't we do both?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which I do not think has been addressed, which makes the Supreme Court looks like they're one side, and it makes it look more racially based because they did not address that. I want to read you something that Michelle Obama just said.
Sure.
She went to Harvard, or was it Yale? Of course, students on my campus, and countless others across the country were and continue to be grand special consideration for admissions. Some have parents who graduated from the same school. Others have families who can afford coaches to help them run or hit a ball faster. Others go to high school with lavish resources for tutors and extensive standardized test preparation. Stuff that minorities didn't have growing up, which benefit them getting into college. And I thought affirmative affirmation, even though it was really based on history, based on the past, which it probably shouldn't be anymore, really helped that level playing field so it doesn't seem like a double standard. Yeah. And it seems like the Supreme Court, which is meant to interpret the Constitution, that's their job. Right now, both left and right, it votes purely on party lines, purely on what the party believes. And that's what they did today with that 6-3 vote. Right. And everything you said is true. I just think there's a double standard that was only addressed to one side.
And that's a very fair point. And again, I wish I could disagree with you. I don't. Let me preface this by saying this. I don't know what it's like to be black, to be a minority in this country. I don't know what it's like to be pulled over because of the color of my skin. I don't know what it's like to be followed around in a store because of the color of my skin and maybe an employee thinks I might steal. I don't know what that feels like, and I don't pretend to know. And I'm also not one of those people that denies that systemic racism exists, because I know it does, because I've seen it and I've heard it, and I listen to minorities that have had different life experiences than me. I work with the local NAACP. I want equality. I'm not one of those people that wants to erase the fact that, we at one point in this country owned slaves. Now, that doesn't mean I have white guilt, because I'll be honest with you, I don't.
I don't either. That's history. We can't do anything about it.
And the reason why I don't have any white guilt is because I don't treat people differently because of the color of their skin. I might treat people differently because they're wearing a MAGA hat. Sorry, that was a terrible joke. But in all seriousness, I don't have white guilt because I treat people the same, no matter whether they're gay, straight, black, white, yellow, whatever. I'm a very pragmatic person. I'd like to think I'm a very logical person. And I want people getting jobs because of their resume and because of what they've accomplished and and your qualifications. I don't care what the color of your skin is. There's always going to be people in society that are. There's always going to be people in society that are racist. And if there's proof of that, for example, at a college campus, then I want them sued.
I agree.
Okay, so I'm all for that. And you bring up a guy like a Jared Kushner, and I'm with you. A minority probably could have gotten into Harvard, but didn't because of a guy like a Jared Kushner, and that is wrong.
Well, how about just a guy that deserved it? His parents didn't pay their way or are highly
Absolutely.
educated. That's all.
Absolutely. I'm with you 150%. All I'm saying, Guy, is I don't want universities making decisions on somebody because of the color of their skin.
Completely agree.
It should
Completely
be
agree.
irrelevant. Again, if you have a black person and a white person that has very similar grades, but maybe that black person came from poverty, I lean towards picking that person that is black because I think that's incredible that, maybe you had somebody that had a family and better means and access to doing different things in their life, and maybe you have that minority that didn't have that access and they still got the same grades, and that's impressive, and that's why I would pick that minority. But you can't tell me this hasn't happened. Just like black people haven't been admitted into schools because there might have been some racists that said, no, we don't want you, and behind closed doors, well, we don't want that person because they're a minority. There are also universities across the country over time. This isn't anything new. If you know the history of affirmative action, it started by a Republican. Okay, Richard Nixon started this, 50 years ago, or probably more than that. Affirmative action started a long, long time ago. How's that worked out? I know that we've had a lot of improvements in the last 50 years when it comes to how minorities are treated, but we still have systemic racism in society. We've been doing this for 50 years, right? So I want people treated the same, and I know that's probably going to be impossible in society, but I'm specifically talking about colleges right now, universities. On an application, I don't think you should say what the color of your skin is.
I agree with you.
I think that should be irrelevant, and obviously if you're going to, in some cases, have an in-person interview, which doesn't always happen, but if it does, then you're going to know what the color of that person's skin is. I'm not a firm believer in that also. You apply to a university, you shouldn't have to answer the question what the color of your skin is. I think that would rectify a lot of issues, in my personal opinion. Wouldn't take care of them all, but why should the university know what the color of your skin is? That should be irrelevant.
Look, you can argue this in so many ways, and I completely agree with what you're saying, especially we're in the 21st century now. Come on. Like, you could even say that athletes, whether they're black or white,
right,
get in based on their sporting prowess, even though they didn't get the exceptional grades other people do. We're never going to be able to get it completely equal, but we want to get it as equal as we can. And it felt like this decision, even though on merits I can argue was the right decision, it just felt one way, not addressing a lot of other issues that still exist.
Right.
And that's why minorities are probably hurting even more right now.
Yeah. I just, it's amazing to me because I use the term racist when I think there's sufficient evidence or proof that somebody is racist. For example, Donald Trump. Forget about even all the discrimination lawsuits that he's had to pay people off because he didn't want black people living in his apartment complexes in New York City. When you make a statement like, I don't want black people counting my money in my casinos, but I want Jews counting my money. Yeah, that's a racist and anti-Semitic statement, right?
It's horrible.
It's a horrible statement. I agree with you. But when you call somebody a racist because they are not for affirmative action, example, this is the road we're going towards right now. In California, politicians have tried to pass a bill to pay every black person in California $1.2 million.
That's ridiculous.
Now, it's not going to pass. But how can you agree with that? How can you agree with somebody who's black, regardless of whether they've been the victim of racism or not? I wish they weren't. Here you go. Here's $1.2 million. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, okay? Now, I'm Jewish, right, Guy? And does that mean if I'm living in Germany and I apply to go to college in Germany, per se, I'm just giving an analogy. I'm 43 years old, so it's a little too late for me to go back to school.
No,
but let's just say I was,
yeah.
okay? And I have a 3.0 grade point average, and somebody who was born in Germany has a 4.0. Should I be chosen because I'm Jewish, because of what happened in Nazi Germany back, in the day during the Holocaust? As a Jewish person, I would say no. That is not fair. Why? Because that person who applied had nothing to do with the Holocaust. The white 18-year-old kid who applies to go to college had nothing to do with slavery. Why does that person have to pay for something that took place many years ago.
That is completely ridiculous. You just told me about that, Bill, and that is setting the country back many years because it's just going to drive hostility towards one another and hostility towards race based on that. We should just say, look, you're exactly right. We weren't around then. We're not racist. We feel bad for everything that happened. We're mortified by it. Like the Germans have to live with their atrocities for the rest of their lives. Their grandfathers and great-grandfathers were in the SS. They have blood ties to murder, but they weren't around. You have to get on with your life. Sorry for everything that's happened.
Yeah.
But it's time to move forward as one. We can't keep doing this.
I understand. But if people are going to call me a racist...
Who's called you a racist?
Is
that really happening?
I've had some people on social media. I've posted some videos, and I think I've been very fair.
Yeah, okay, go on.
And if you think that if you're black and living in California, you deserve $1.2 million if you're black, and you believe that that's fair, then I think you're crazy. If you believe that if you're black and you have a C average in high school, but because you came from a poor family in a bad area and you're going to choose that person who happens to be black over a person who is white, who didn't go to a private school, public school, who's got a 4.0 grade point average and all the extracurriculars, that's ridiculous. And that doesn't make me racist to say that. That is ridiculous.
Does every Jewish person in Eastern Europe deserve $1 million?
Exactly. Of course not. Of course not.
It's setting the country back.
And if I went to Germany today and decided to live there, I wouldn't want to be treated any differently than anybody else just because of what took place. Yes, 7 million Jews were killed, but I would like to think that the people in Germany today had nothing to do with that.
And I've been to Germany.
I had nothing to do with slavery.
I've been to Germany, and they are still embarrassed and mortified and humiliated events that took place. Because you look back in history, when you're proud of it, they're not proud of it.
And let me be, okay, so if you think I'm crazy, and some people are saying that, or you think I'm racist, because I want everyone to be treated as equals, and I don't want anybody to get preferential treatment because of the color of one's skin, in this case, getting into college, then tell me why you think I'm crazy. I'm going to open up the phone lines now. And here's your opportunity. 702-221-7283 is the number to call, and let me give out that number again if you want to be a part of the show. 702-221-7283. Again, that's 702-221-SAVE. If you disagree with me and you think that colleges should be picking minorities over people who are white, even if some of those people that are white have more qualifications as far as grades, extracurricular activities, tell me why. Do you think that every black person in California should get $1.2 million? Oh, Brian, you're crazy. Where'd you hear that from? There are politicians in California. This is where I disagree with some of these Democrats. There are politicians in California who are trying to pass this bill, which is absurd.
Ridiculous.
You're crazy. Yeah. Give somebody $1.2 million. They can just sit on their ass the rest of their life and do nothing and laugh. That's absurd.
Agreed. That's irritated me because I didn't know that. I knew they were talking about it.
And there are also people on social media, they're saying, I'm using this ruling for ratings. No, I'm not. This is the biggest news story of the day. I'm talking about it because it's a very important issue.
All right, that's the stupidest comment I've ever heard.
It's ridiculous.
We're radio hosts that deal with politics and current affairs, and a story broke today, a historical Supreme Court ruling that has been in precedent for many, many years and has been overturned.
Right.
That would be neglectful if we didn't say anything about it.
Exactly.
Is that the stupidest? What's wrong with people?
And I want to be very clear. I agree, Guy, with what you said. And you gave a very good example of Jared Kushner, which is a great example. And I agree with you. It goes both ways. I don't want somebody that's privileged, that has money, a father to be able to buy his son into a university. I agree with you 100% on that. And I try to be fair.
We're with each other on this.
Yes.
And look, you could say there's wealthy black people too that pay their way but they're still the minority.
Of course.
Just because of the numbers.
No question. So here's what we're going to do.
Yep.
I want all the people that are waiting on hold to sit tight. We have a lot of people. I'm going to dedicate the entire next segment to taking phone calls.
Oh, we got a lot of calls.
I want all the people to sit tight on hold, and I promise I will get to all of you. Let me read out the names here, the people that are waiting on hold in order. We have Mike, Kevin, Al, Jeff, Edward. I promise you, I will get to all of you, and I will allow your say. We have a couple more phone lines open if you want to call in, and we will take all your calls next segment. Agree or disagree, I want to hear from you. Guy wants to hear from you. Again, that number, 702-221-7283. We're talking about the affirmative action ruling that was pretty much shot down by the Supreme Court today when it comes to college admission. We're taking your calls. We have 2 more phone lines open. And again, that number, last chance, 702-221-7283, 702-221-SAVE. We will get to all your calls on the other side of the break. It's the most interactive show in Las Vegas. That's why we're taking your phone calls on the other side. And we'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits with your phone calls on KSHP.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines, beware, go bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit sapphirepoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
All right, welcome back. I want you guys to check out Sahara West Urgent Primary Care. They're located at 6125 West Sahara Avenue. No appointment needed. Give them a call. 702-248-0554. You can visit them online at saharawesturgentcare.com. They take most insurances. If you don't have any insurance, only $95. Sahara West Urgent Care. It's urgent and primary care. Please check them out and tell them that I sent you. All right, we're talking about Guy David in the house, of course. I am Mr. Brian Shapiro. I've been called a racist today, which is interesting. We're talking about affirmative action because I am not for affirmative action, at least when it comes to college admissions. We're taking your calls. 702-221-7283. Let's get right to the phone calls, and let's start off with Mike. Mike, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian, long-time listener.
Thank
I'm
you,
a
sir.
descendant of the Alamo, the Battle of the Alamo. My grandfather, 5 generations back, fought and died in it, and we're having our family reunion coming up in about 2 weeks. But
Cool.
we got about 3,000 descendants that are going to the Alamo, the reunion. But I wanted to mention something about the reparations, or what do you call it?
Repercussions?
So I do believe in reparations, but not for just because the people were black.
Mm-hmm.
I believe all of those cities Tulsa massacre, Texas massacre, Florida massacre, who got their property stolen, that got their businesses burnt down to the ground, and the properties and the cities that were made lakes that used to have businesses that were successful, those people had something going, and they got it taken from them, and they should be,
well, listen,
compensated for
I
it.
hear, Mike, I hear what you're saying, and we can also talk about the Indian casinos, right? We can talk about the atrocities that took place to those people, and now our government says, okay, you can own your own land, and we're not going to tax you. Listen, I have a lot of opinions when it comes to this sort of stuff, and I don't think we can look towards the past. We have to look towards the future. It doesn't mean we can't help a certain group of people that have been victims. I totally understand that. I just think it's a very slippery slope. You're going to give everybody reparations and treat people differently and accept them into college that might not be as qualified as somebody else because of the color of skin. What's next? I just explained what they're doing in California, what they're trying to do. It's not going to pass, but there are some lunatic Democrats in California that are trying to pass these bills and give every single black person over the age of 18 $1.2 million, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life. And that's where I take issue. It's like, where does it stop?
I agree with you. You're right.
Yeah.
My mother, by the way, has given back to the Indians. She's paid out $60,000 in the casinos every month.
Hey,
So
brother.
they're paid back.
Brother, I hear that. I live in Vegas, unfortunately, so I know where you're coming from there, Mike, and I appreciate your call, my friend. Thanks. Have fun at the Alamo, and say hello to Greg Popovich for me, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Good to hear from you.
We can't keep doing this. You
No.
can't keep giving people money or
No.
give it through an apology of some sorts and stuff that happens here.
And it
it's going to
doesn't-
set the country back
and it
so
doesn't,
far.
And it doesn't
So
make
far.
me a racist or you a racist to say that.
No. It's not good for the country.
No.
I promise you.
It's
will not be good.
702, and that doesn't make us a racist saying that. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Kevin. Kevin is next on Pushing the Limits. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, I can't call y'all a racist, but I just say y'all just real. Why, when it's time to give us money, we don't have it, or we shouldn't do it? We gave the Armenians money for Turkey.
Right.
We've given China money. We've given Jews money. We've given Indians money.
Wait. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let's rewind. How are the Jews getting money? No one's paid me. I'm Jewish.
Hold up. We pay Israel every year. We even help pay them for the Holocaust.
Well, because
we contribute money for the Holocaust. We didn't have nothing to do with it.
Okay,
we didn't have nothing to do with it. So we shouldn't have gave no money at all.
So the
because
reason
America
why
didn't have nothing to do with
okay,
it.
so we're talking about black Americans. We're talking about black people that live in this country. I'm not talking about people that live in other
that, but you're sitting here saying that you shouldn't give us money.
Okay,
Why
so
not?
should I?
You're
Should I?
giving everybody else money.
Do I?
This country.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. This country would not be what it is if it wasn't for us. Free labor is what made this country the #1 country in the world.
Okay, so
Why?
let's talk
Because they
about
was able to. Hold on. Let me finish it first. And I know I see your show, and I know a lot of people talk. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But just let me get my point across.
Go ahead.
and I'll let you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This country wouldn't be what it is right now to this day if it wasn't for free labor.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then after free labor, we fought for this war. And then when our people came back from the war, right, they didn't give us no property or land. They gave it all to not trying to be disrespectful, but to the white folks. And we were supposed to get it. We didn't get it. Then the ones that did get it, y'all took it from us. Like, I'm in California, Manhattan Beach. That's $1 million property. Triple millions. They just gave a park back in Manhattan Beach.
All right, let's
now the family was able to
stay on the line, Kevin. I want to have this conversation with you because it's a very important one. And by the way, I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying, but here's where we disagree, I think. Let's start here. Let's talk about California. There are Democrats, and I lean to the left on a lot of social issues, by the way. If you listen to the show, you know what I'm...
I listen to your show.
Right.
I'm
okay.
not calling you a racist.
I appreciate
I'm just saying you're being insecure.
You're
not insecure, but...
okay, I understand. I understand what you're trying to say. Kevin, there are Democrats in California that want to pass a bill and give every black person in California $1.2 million.
I know. I live here.
Okay, can we agree? Can we agree that that's absurd? I understand you're.
No.
You
No.
think just hand out
we give Indians money
That was his
every
whole
year.
point. They
We
deserve it.
took their property. We took this is the Indian land. We gave them we made it where we give them money every year.
So
and
let me
we made
ask
it
you
where
another
that
question.
They can do casinos.
Okay, so let me.
I know Indians that get
I understand, but
25.
I
you know what
understand.
I
I
mean? $30,000 a
understand,
month.
but you're telling me that not every black person wants to work, just like not every white person wants to work, right? There are lazy people out there. And you're telling me you're comfortable with an 18-year-old that doesn't even have an education, won't have to work for the rest of their life, and let's just hand them $1.2 million because of atrocities that took place many years ago, and you're telling me that's good for society and that's okay?
Hold up. We have 18-year-olds that's inheriting 1.10.5.7 point companies.
Yeah,
that
that's
are
different.
Not educated.
That's
that are not-
different.
What you mean that's
But their
different?
families have earned it.
Like
Their families have
you
earned
think
it
we
through
haven't
business.
earned it? You think we haven't earned it because we built this country off of the back of our
So
ancestors?
what does an
You
18-year-old
think we
earn?
didn't
Tell
earn
me.
that?
Tell me, an 18-year-old kid that had nothing
His
to do with what
family
you are
heritage-
talking about, how has he earned it?
His family heritage earned it. If y'all would have paid us back in those days, the living wage
So because of hold on, Kevin, backtrack. Let's backtrack. Because of the days of slavery, hold on, Kevin, hang on, I let you talk. Hold on, hang on a second, sir. So because of what happened with slavery many, many years ago, you're telling me that 18-year-olds that are black deserve $1.2 million just to hand out?
What does it matter what his age is?
Because he had nothing to do with it. Because he had nothing to do with it.
Yes, it does. Because you want to know something? If y'all would have paid him, if y'all would have paid us,
I'm not paying him anything. Why do you say you all? What does that mean? I'm not giving any black person anything because they're black.
You're Jewish. I don't know if you was originally born here.
Why don't you give me $1.2 million because of the Holocaust?
Listen to me. You're not listening to me. Because if your family benefited. We got Wells Fargo that benefited off of.
How did my family benefit? What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Because if you lived through that day, you
my family didn't benefit because they're Jewish. What are you talking about? My parents.
Kevin,
I didn't say you.
Should we give $1 million each to the 7 million Jews that were murdered in the Holocaust now?
I didn't say you benefited because you was Jewish. I don't know where you. My point was I don't know if you was born here or not. But what I'm trying in America, your family. What I'm trying to say is families that migrated here during the slavery and made money, they were able to take.
I had nothing to do with that. I had nothing to do with that.
What do you mean? So did you have anything to do with the Indians?
Nothing to do with that either. And by the way, I don't agree with that either.
They paid them, right?
Kevin, I'm an American citizen. I was born in Australia.
Listen to me, sir. Did they pay them? Did they pay the Indians?
I don't agree with that either.
It doesn't matter what you agree with.
Well, actually, it does. I have an opinion, and I disagree with you. I don't think
they pay the Indians, sir. You're not answering the question.
Yes. Well, they didn't. Not necessarily paying them.
pay the
Hold on a
Chinese for the
second.
railroad?
Hold on.
Did they pay the
Hold
Chinese
on.
for putting them in
There's a
captivity?
difference between Indians creating business and the government saying we're going to give you land and let you gaming. They didn't just hand out $1.2 million to every person with Indian descent. You're wrong.
You know Indians that just don't have businesses still get money from the government every month.
Okay, Kevin, you sound like a
Do you
good
know
dude.
that?
Okay, you sound like a good dude.
Sir.
Well, hold on. Yeah, I have a
Answer
lot
the
of other
question.
callers. I appreciate
Do you know?
Go ahead. I'll give you the last word.
Indians get paid. Do you know that the Indians get paid every month? Even the ones that don't.
And I don't agree with that either.
The ones that live on the reservation.
And I don't agree with that either.
Do you know that they paid the Chinese for the Holocaust? I mean, for the railroad.
And I don't agree
even
with that
though-
either. If
But-
we all
but
okay,
why-
Kevin,
but hold up. But
Kevin,
why
I
would it-
got to
okay,
get to
but
some
this
other
is one
callers.
thing. This is all I have to
Kevin.
say. Why, when it comes to black people getting money, it's always I don't agree with it. We need to stop. But we did give it to them, but we're not gonna give it to them.
Do we not have something
That's
called
what
the
this is about.
ACLU? Do we not have do we not have
and
governmental
about food.
programs to help people who are
Can I say-
poor, whether it be free
No,
legal
y'all
advice?
don't even want to give us that. Y'all trying
What are you
to cut
talking
that.
about? And why do you say you all? Why do you say you
The
all?
government.
Like you're.
Because 95% of the United States government is white. Am I lying?
Okay, but why do you say you all?
So who has control? Because who has control of passing and vetoing bills? The government, and the 90% of our government is white. So,
what percentage of this country is black, sir? What percentage? What percentage of the country is black? Hold on, please answer my question.
But that's the point. But that's the point of affirmative action.
So if 13 or 14%, hold on.
We do not, even if we have the criteria to get into those schools or to get into a job, they do not hire us at
Kevin,
all.
I appreciate your perspective. I got to let you go because I got to Kevin,
move on. Thank you, Kevin.
I appreciate your perspective. We disagree. And I think you're setting a horrible example to black people all over the country when you are saying we should just hand out $1.2 million to people because of the color of their skin. I think that is absurd. But I appreciate your call, and I appreciate the discussion and your perspective.
You're right. It is
and you're
absurd.
welcome to call back anytime. 702-221-7283. Jeff is the next caller. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, man, I'm still here, brother. How are you?
Good, man. What's on your mind?
Oh, dude, that was lengthy. Hey, listen, you're quick in making me become an independent.
That's a huge compliment.
Well, that is, sir.
I want you to know that because
Well,
I totally agree. I totally agree that that's absurd.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody in this world deserves any
Reparations, yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've had some natural ice, but
that's okay.
It's the American Indian. Not only did we take them everywhere you look, every house that is built on every piece of land in this country, we took away from them because we were bigger, we were stronger, and we hit.
So here's
We
the
did
thing.
not
I
lay
agree.
down.
Here's the thing. There are atrocities that have happened to all sorts of different people. We could talk about people of Indian descent. We could talk about black people. We could talk about Jewish people. But the point that I try to make is I try to be fair is that there's nothing wrong with helping people, but I don't want to treat people differently or punish other people. In this case, maybe white people, 18-year-olds that are trying to get into college, and punish them and say, well, your grades are better than that person, and your extracurriculars are better, your resume is better, but we're not going to choose you because
you marked black on your application.
Right, because of atrocities that happened decades ago. I think that's wrong.
I think you can make the argument being Jewish over any race because the Jews have been persecuted in every era since the dawn of time.
Nobody gave my family
the dawn of time. By the way, quick question.
Absolutely.
Is Judaism a race or religion?
What's that? It's a religion. I wouldn't necessarily call it a race, but you know, I'm not jumping around.
You can argue till the cows come home.
Yeah. I'm not jumping around in the streets.
Nose set it off, Brian.
Yeah, there you go. I'm not jumping
the
around.
Nose sets it off.
I'm not jumping around in the streets saying that I want the Germans to pay me $1.2 million for ancestors that were slaughtered and murdered in Nazi Germany. To me, it's the same thing.
You can go back to 5000 BC.
And
yeah.
And because you're up on the news, Brian, can I ask you a question?
Quickly, go ahead.
And it's just because I get news feeds.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Throughout work. And I work from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. But I saw that they're even trying to pass a bill in California.
Yeah.
Limiting or banning the sale of Bibles.
Well, that's a little strange. I don't listen. I'm not a Bible thumper. I don't. If people want to,
no, I'm not either. I'm not either.
If people want to read a book and they want to live their life based on a book, that's totally up to them. But I also disagree with people not being able to buy the Bible either. People just like I disagree, with what they're doing with the kids and the books. Hey, my friend Jeff, I appreciate your call, my friend. I'm glad you're now an official independent. That makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside, and I appreciate your call.
All right,
Jeff.
brother, I'll be calling back.
Please do. I appreciate that. And I appreciate Kevin's call, too. Don't get me wrong. I like a good spirited debate. We just happen to disagree. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Tim. Tim is next on Pushing the Limits. What's going on, Tim? Tim, are you there? Earth to
Lost
Tim.
him?
Earth to Tim. Earth to Tim.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay,
What's up?
That's okay. What's up, Tim? Go ahead, my friend.
All right, so what's the topic? Because I jumped into the live and y'all was talking about some other stuff.
The topic was, I was with a woman the other day. I got herpes, and I'm trying to figure out where I can go to get. I'm just kidding.
So the question is, should she have disclosed it before he was with her?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, sir. Usually I don't repeat it, but since you sound like a nice guy, I'll tell you. We're talking about reparations. We're talking about the Supreme Court decision that was made today, which is that there will be no reparations for college students that, in college campuses. Yeah, basically what they're saying is you can't choose someone to go to college over somebody else because of race. That's basically that's basically what the Supreme Court ruled on today.
Okay, so I see what you're saying about like all of that, and I have looked into the whole court case with all of that, with all the Supreme Court things.
Yes, sir.
I would say it really is something that we really do need to talk about, like over on their side. Mm-hmm. But everybody's worried about, what are the Asian, Black, and Hispanic students going to do when, everybody keeps saying it on TikTok.
Okay, I understand, but here's
the problem.
I understand, Tim, but here's my opinion, and you can tell me whether you disagree or not. Okay, I want people to be chosen to go into school because of their qualifications. I don't want it to have anything to do with religion or race. And we just had a black man call in a few callers ago who said that he's okay with people in California that are black getting $1.2 million each. I find that to be absurd. It doesn't mean we can't help minorities. It doesn't mean we can't lend a hand and give them help where they need it. But to just say, hey, listen, there's systemic racism and look at slavery. Because of white guilt, we're just going to pay you all $1.2 million. I just think that's absurd. That's all.
A piece?
Yeah, they're trying to. I'm not making this up, my man. There are Democrats in California that are lunatics that are trying to pass a bill to pay every black person over the age of 18 $1.2 million. And we just had a caller, I think Kevin, who's okay with that. That's absurd. It's absurd.
If that does happen, I think they should have. I shouldn't think it should be all in a one. Like if it does happen.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. They should just get all the money at once. It should be like
I
a monthly thing, and they should do financial literacy classes.
I agree, Tim. It's good. I agree, Tim. It's good to hear from you, my man. And I was just kidding. I don't have herpes. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate the call.
Make sure you preface that.
Tim, you call back anytime, my friend. Appreciate you. Just be sure to listen to the first segment. That's all I ask. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Damon. Damon is next on Pushing the Limits. Damon, my man, what's going on?
What's going on, fellas? Brian, we deserve reparations just because we the first ones to die in movies forever. That's reason enough to give us reparations.
I agree with that. You got me there.
Period. There's nothing like the only character you identify with, you know he's going to die right away. But
do you have an example there? I'm trying to think of any movies with it.
Just look at every movie since the beginning of Hollywood. But
Damon, can I ask you something?
Go ahead.
I just interrupted. It's my ADD, Damon. I apologize. But I want to ask you something. Damon, I know you've been listening to me on the radio for a very long time, which I appreciate. You know where my heart comes from. I just believe that it's a slippery slope, and when you say, I'm going to accept this person into college because they're black, even though that person that is white has better grades and better extracurriculars, it's a very slippery slope, and now you know what they're doing in or at least they're trying to do it in California. I just think it sets a bad precedence. Listen, if there's racism out there and a black person can make a case and hire an attorney and say, hey, they didn't accept me into college because I'm black, I want that college to be sued. But I just don't want people chosen for anything in society because of the color of their skin. That's all.
I get that, but thing is, the scales are tilted too much to one side. Even if the white person doesn't have better extracurriculars or they don't have better grades, you got people like Aunt Becky and the lady from Desperate Housewives that's going to pay their way in.
And I disagree with that also.
Get around whatever if it's no quota.
Damon, you are 100% right. And my co-host is the one that brought that up, Jared Kushner. I'm with you 100%. You have white people in society who come from wealthy families, and they buy their way into college. And guess what? That's disgusting. And that can't happen. Just as much as I don't want a black person getting into a school just because of the color of their skin, I also don't want a white person getting into a school because of who their father is or how much money they have. Why can't both be wrong? I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
Well, both of them weren't wrong if you didn't look at, like, the Republican intern class. If they had a choice, the people with the money and the people calling the real shots, they wouldn't include us at all. Without affirmative action, We just on the outskirts, Brian, and the numbers for affirmative action are so low. Y'all act like it's 50% of the people getting in. It's not. It's like something like 5-10%, maybe even less than that.
Well, here's what I think.
It's not a lot of people
You're right.
getting in from affirmative action.
Damon, you're right. Here's how I think we rectify this. I think all resumes and all decisions that colleges make, they need to have a website, and it needs to be public. And we need to find out the resume of a student, why they chose this student over that student, and it needs to be transparent, and it needs to go public. And if there's evidence that a college chooses one person over the other because of race, we're going to choose somebody white over that person that's black, then that university should be sued. I think they need to be consistent on both sides. And just because somebody donates, in Jared Kushner's case, a father donating $5 million to Harvard, should not mean that a university should be biased in choosing that person to go to Harvard, because I think we all agree Jared Kushner was not and would not be Harvard material. He is a moron, and let's agree on that. So, Damon, I think it just needs to go both ways, that's all. I've got people calling me racist today. People are calling me racist. Brian, I'm so disappointed in you. Well, guess what? People aren't going to agree with me on everything. I'm always going to tell you how I feel, and you're not going to agree with me on everything. I lean to the left on social issues. I'm sorry if people don't agree with me on this, Damon, but I want everyone to be treated as equals. And I think if you're going to choose race for a dominating reason for why someone should get into school, then I just think that's wrong.
Well, the thing is, Brian, that school part, I get it, but that's college is so much done behind closed doors. I don't think we ever get to the bottom of it and make it right.
Sadly, you're right.
The thing is, yeah, I don't think we'll ever be able to do that. But the thing is, when it comes to the reparations, you can't just say it's because of slavery. Slavery was the start.
Right.
They sold us out when they made Jefferson Davis the vice president to keep the South happy.
I agree.
The next thing you know, Lincoln is dead.
Damon,
then now we got a Civil War president that from the South that's running the country. Reformation, Reconstruction, totally went out the window. They took black people's land,
Damon,
like
I'm
the
with
people
you.
that's getting the beachfront property back in L.A.
I'm with you, Damon.
They
I
took
talk
everything
about
from
this, and I talk about police brutality and systemic racism. I talk about these issues, all the time on this show. I'm with you. Slavery is not the only reason, when it comes to black people, being oppressed. And I'm with you 100%. Damon, I got to get to some other callers, my friend. I always love it when you call in. You're always one of my favorite callers, and I appreciate you, my man. Thank you.
All right, take it easy.
Thank you. I love it when Damon calls in. He makes a lot of sense. 221-7283. Let's go to Al. Al is next. Al, what's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing, Brian? I'm off the. So here's a tweet. Here's a tweet that I saw today that got my attention.
Okay.
It says the Supreme Court ends affirmative action in higher education. The court has ruled that colleges and universities must stop considering race in admissions. And then the guy responded, however, it is okay if a child is the child of a public figure, would be the third or fourth generation to attend, plays a sport really well, or the parents gave a big notion to a university. So
okay, so let me respond. Go ahead. You respond first. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so nobody has a monopoly on brains. Okay, you have smart people in inner cities that are capable, and you have idiots, and we were talking about Robert or that guy Kushner, whatever that guy is. So usually when you go to a university, you're going to perform in the first 2 years or not, or you're going to get thrown out. You're just going to fail. So I think that they should be giving, maybe geographically giving people an opportunity. They come from we have smart kids that probably didn't even graduate from Clark County School District because the district is so screwed up.
But let's be honest, there are a lot of rich kids out there that are not very intelligent either. Jared Kushner is the poster child for that. When it comes to sports, listen, if you're good enough to get a sports scholarship, it doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. There's plenty of different people that are getting scholarships. But, Al, listen, I'm with you, and I agree, and that's wrong also, right? I don't care if you're third generation, fourth generation, 20th generation, if you're Tucker Carlson the 10th, I don't care. That should have absolutely no bearing on whether somebody goes to school there or not. It should be about what that student did in high school, the way they've lived their life. Have they stayed out of trouble? Do they have extracurriculars? And guess what? I don't care what the color of your skin is. I don't care how much money your family has. It shouldn't have any bearing on it, and that's really my only point.
Yeah, I hear you. And the thing is that I think it should be based on, just like when the Golden Knights get in a player, do we think he can perform and contribute to the team?
Yeah.
So, it's going to be like the university looks at a student, they go, there's no guarantee that the student is going to perform and graduate well, but if the person's going to meet the standards of the college, because, you're graduated by the college if you meet their standards. That's why there's different colleges out there.
No, I'm with you.
However, I do believe that it should maybe, because we do want some diversity out there, that it should be a very minor thing, that you consider that. But I don't think it should be like, oh, he's black, we got to get him in.
No, Al, I'm with you 100%, my friend. I'm up against the clock, buddy, but I'm with you. Good call. I appreciate you, Al.
All right, man. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely, Al. I got 30 seconds for Edward, then we got to go to break. Edward, my man, you're on. Go.
Hey guys, what's up? Hey, shout out from San Antonio. And I think your show should come with a warning label, by the way. It may raise blood pressure while watching or listening.
Yeah.
We'll take that.
Hey,
That's fair.
Hey, I wanted to say really quick, I don't think you're racist, but I do think you're a little bit biased, Brian, especially like maybe toward your guests. Like when Eric was there yesterday and then Jimmy, the comedian, they talked about Biden, or they badmouthed Biden, and you didn't jump on them like you do other people that call in.
Here's why. Because when somebody makes a joke at Biden's expense or Trump's expense, when it's comedy and it's a joke, when we're talking about poker, it's levity, and I'm not going to be serious. If I have somebody in having a serious political discussion, then I will push back. The guy we had in is a professional poker player who's not a political commentator, and he made a joke.
Adam Carolla.
Yes, correct. And Adam Carolla is also a comedian. But if I have the opportunity to spend more time with Adam, then we can get into a debate. Edward, I got to let you go, brother. I'm sorry to cut you short, but I got to take a break. Call back tomorrow. I promise I'll give you a little more time. Okay, my friend, I appreciate it.
Guy.
Edward, yes, you got it.
Later.
All right. Going to take a deep breath. We're going to get everybody's blood pressure down. And
I like that comment.
Hey, it's not every day you get to speak to a billionaire, right? Right, guy? The guy joining us next in studio, his name is Jay Bloom. He's a real estate developer, self-made.
Yep.
This is a crazy story because he was supposed to be on that ill-fated submersible with his son, and they kind of decided not to do it last second. That's why he's alive. That's why his son's alive.
The best decision he ever made.
Yeah, what a
did not
wild
involve
story.
business dealing.
What a wild story. Las Vegas billionaire Jay Bloom joining us in studio next to share that story. He's Guy David. I'm Brian Shapiro. We'll take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
KSHP North Las Vegas, Pushing the Limit with Brian Shapiro. Weekdays at noon on KSHP North Las Vegas, AM and FM, K29 6HP North Las Vegas, and KSHP.com.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines, beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable daybed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit sapphirepoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
Jumpers Jungle Family Fun Center is an indoor children's jump and party space in Las Vegas, located at 2050 South Rainbow Boulevard. Kids of all ages can come and jump on our bouncers, race through the obstacle courses, speed down the mega slides, slam dunk into the basketball hoops, and much more. Are you looking for that perfect birthday party venue? Look no further. Jumpers Jungle has a party package that will fit your needs. Check out the open play schedule online at jumpersjungle.com or call 702-463-JUMP. It's time to jump your way to fun at Jumpers Jungle on the corner of Oakey and Rainbow.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. We've been talking a lot the last week. Obviously it's a huge story, and it's a very sad story about this ill-fated submersible where 5 people, lost their lives. And just yesterday they found, I hate to get too graphic, but they found some body fragments, and they found pieces of the submersible. It's a horrible story, and it can't happen again. And it's localized here because the guy we have with us in studio right now, you may have heard of him before. He's a Las Vegas billionaire, a real estate developer, and he was supposed to, at least close to, taking his son on this submersible. Thank God he didn't. His name is Jay Bloom, and he joins us in studio right now. He's been making the rounds. He was on CNN, and nice enough to be here in studio with us now. Jay, thank you so much for being here. I'm glad you're here to begin with. Let me start by saying that. Thanks for coming on. I know you've done a lot of interviews, and I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, and I am glad to be here as well.
Yeah. This is wild.
It's been a surreal couple of weeks.
Okay, let's start from square one. And then maybe the second half of the hour, we'll get more into maybe some political stuff and talk about the NBA and maybe bringing a team here. We'll get to some other stuff. But how did you start getting in contact with the CEO of this company? How did that conversation start? And sadly, he passed away. He was down there. But how did you start talking to him? How did that conversation start?
So we had a mutual acquaintance, and I met him, and he started to tell me about what he was doing. And he was telling me about these expeditions he was taking on a private submarine down to the Titanic. And my son has been a fan of the Titanic story ever since he was 8 or 9. He used to study it, and he was like a little miniature Titanic expert. And when I talked to Stockton and learned of what he was doing, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to take my son down and do something really cool and unique.
So you're having conversations with him, and this was what, a month before the expedition? How long before?
Oh, this was a year ago.
Okay, so this is a long time ago. So you're having a lot of contact with him. You tell your son about it. I would imagine he's probably excited about this opportunity. And it's like, what, $250,000 to do this? How much were they charging?
It's $250,000 a person.
See, so you would have had to put up, I mean, you're a very wealthy man, but you would have had to put up $500,000 to do this.
Well, he got a discount too.
Yeah.
In the end, he offered me a discount, but that just didn't really move us.
All right, so at what point before this expedition do you have second thoughts about doing this?
So he dives seasonally. He only dives in the summer. So around February, it went from kind of this conceptual, hey, this would be really cool, to let's start looking at dates. And in February, when we started looking at dates, I told my son, we need to pick a date. What do you think? And he talked to a friend of his, and his friend started to raise concerns, and then my son became concerned, and they did some research and came to me with some of the things they found, which made me concerned. And I told Stockton. Stockton really wasn't interested in hearing it. He got very defensive about.
And you have text messages of this.
I do. But I mean, we texted, we talked on WhatsApp. I talked to him on the phone, and I've been with him in person 3 times.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Jay, Jay, is this true? Did he fly out to see you to personally convince you to go on the submersible? And he took you out to lunch, and he was very charming. This is what I've heard. And he also said that he flew out on his self-made, man-made plane, which he made himself, and that immediately gave you second thoughts?
Yeah, well, he didn't lead with him. He flew out in his home-built aircraft, right? So he said he was coming out, and he wanted to take
just
me
to
out.
court you, right?
Yeah. He came out to take me out and talk to me about the expedition.
How long ago was this?
This was in March of this year.
So you meet the CEO. So you meet the CEO in March. And this is when you were already having concerns because your son's friend raised the concerns, then your son raised concerns to you, and then you were concerned.
Right.
So he flies out here in March. You have a conversation with him, and I would imagine he's trying to persuade you that everything is safe. Is that how that conversation went?
Well, so he told me he was going to fly out and he was coming into North Las Vegas. And
North Las Vegas
said, why are you coming into? Most people who fly private aircraft will fly into,
of course, Harry Reid,
Harry Reid International or Henderson Executive.
Right.
And I said, why? What are you flying into North Las Vegas? And he said that he was coming in on a home-built experimental aircraft, a 2-seater that he built. And I started to think about. I'm a pilot. I have my helicopter pilot's license, and I said, I started to think I wouldn't get on an experimental aircraft, and this guy is flying in on a 2-seater aircraft that he built, an experimental aircraft, to pitch me on going on a 5-seater experimental submarine to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean.
So Jay, you're a really smart guy, and obviously that's another red flag, right? He's flying on this 2-seater aircraft. He has all this money, and he's also a wealthy guy, and so I would imagine that's another red flag that pops in your head, right?
It was really bizarre,
yeah.
and my son started to dig in, and he found a video where Stockton was showing how he controlled the submarine with a Logitech video game controller that he jury-rigged to kind of run the thing. And then he built the hull out of carbon fiber, which carbon fiber, when you cycle it through pressure, it weakens, and when it fails, it shatters like glass. It doesn't just like crack, it like splinters.
Right.
So my son is like, there's no way this thing's going to survive.
Wow, your son and your son's friend are pretty smart. I have to ask you this before we get to obviously what took place. Why would anybody, I don't understand why, I don't care how much money you have. In this instance, you can't even see the Titanic. You're seeing it through a screen. I don't understand why people would even want to do this. You're confined. It looks extremely uncomfortable going in there to begin with. And it's not like it has windows where you could actually see it. You're seeing it through a TV screen. Why would someone?
Window?
So there is a viewing window.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And the viewing window, and this was another issue that came up. The viewing window was rated by the manufacturer as being safe to 1,500 meters. The Titanic is 4,500 meters down. And
my God!
One of the things that Stockton told me is that his industry is way too conservative on safety and over-engineers everything and spends a lot of money needlessly. I think I've seen clips of him saying there's a lot of money wasted in safety, and that's what he's talking about. He said this viewing window is practically it's good to 10,000 meters. So even though it's rated for 1,500, we're going to 4,500. It's still in that safe zone, and that's kind of how he treated everything.
So in March, you have all these concerns. You meet him. Obviously, it didn't go well for him. You saw the red flags. Does he wine and dine you? Does he take you to dinner? Where does he take you? Here?
No, he took me to Titanic, the exhibition at
Luxor?
At Luxor.
So I walked the Titanic, the exhibition with him, and then we just went to the food court to talk about the experience and what to expect, and then I started raising some of the safety issues. And he told me in the text messages, he told me that it's safer than flying helicopters, it's safer than scuba diving, and at lunch he told me it's like walking across the street.
Was that a red flag that he was courting you so hard? Because there's plenty of wealthy people, there's plenty of people that could afford this, and there's seats for 5 people on a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And whether you like it or not, there's a lot of explorers out there that would probably love the opportunity. But he went as far as to do everything he did to court you. I thought it was funny he gave you a $100,000 discount, because that doesn't really matter. Did that raise any concerns? Like, why is he going all in for me, or were you flattered by it?
It did tell me that he was short on people because it was getting closer to the date that we were supposed to go. And, it told me he didn't have anybody. So he had floated, in April, he floated 2 dates in May. Both of those dates got postponed because of weather, and it got pushed to the June 18th date that this expedition went. And I told him, my safety concerns were at this point off the chart, and but I knew if I called him out on safety, there would just be an argument. So I just told him I had scheduling conflicts, and let's just look at it again next summer.
And and I think, and by the way, if you're just joining us, Las Vegas billionaire real estate developer Jay Bloom joining us in studio. There was a time where he considered going on this ill-fated submersible, and now he's talking about private meetings he had with the CEO, who has perished sadly. He came out here to North Las Vegas Airport and met with him. All right, so is it fair to say, I think about this other billionaire who brought his son, who died sadly, and from what I've heard from the mother, the father selfishly went on this expedition and brought his son. The son didn't want to go on.
Took his place.
Right. The son didn't want to go on, was fearful of it. Father made him go on anyway, and thank God. I mean, that could have been you. So let me ask you this. The moment that you heard, and the moment that your son heard, that this submersible, was off radar and not even knowing that they were dead yet, but just learning that they lost contact with the submersible, first thing that entered your mind?
First thing that entered my mind is they probably just lost radio contact, and it'll be fine. They'll pop up and they'll recover them, and then after the first 2 days, I'm like, all right, this is probably more serious than I thought. And I had 3 scenarios: either they had some kind of emergency, lost radio contact, surfaced, and were still in the sub bobbing around on the surface somewhere, which also is problematic because the way Stockton designed the sub, the hatch attaches with 18 bolts from the outside. Now, he only uses 16 or 17 because he said that's all you need. But there's no way to open the hatch from inside the sub.
Right.
And it's an airtight seal. So if they're bobbing around on the surface, they're still going to run out of air and suffocate if nobody finds them in a couple of days.
Right.
Right? Or I thought either the hull or the observation window breached on the way down, in which case they would be instantly killed in an implosion.
Right.
Or the third option is they were stuck on the bottom, and that would be the worst option of all. If they were stuck on the bottom, then without power, there's no light, so they're in pitch black.
Mm-hmm.
There's no food and water. There's no heat. It's 31 degrees down there, right? And they have the knowledge that nobody can get to them, and they'll have 4 or 5 days before they suffocate.
That gave me nightmares hearing that scenario.
Horrible, right?
So horrible, and then I'm thinking of the scenario. And what we learned happened, of course, was that there was the implosion, and from what we understand, and we're still going to learn more, but it happened within a half a second. They didn't know what hit them.
It's actually less than a millisecond.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I understand is that it takes 20 milliseconds for a brain to process a reaction.
Right.
And this was less than a millisecond.
They didn't know what happened.
No, it's like the end of The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Everything just clicked to black. And
that's true. I'm a big Sopranos fan myself. So when you first learned that they perished, I can't even imagine what you and your son must have been thinking at that point. What do you say to your son? I mean, that could have easily been you and your 20-year-old son.
We were one decision away from that, and you know, it was inescapable because it was on every channel on the news, and every channel had pictures of the people on the sub that perished, and it was like 3 pictures of individuals and then a 4th picture of the father and son. And I'm looking at that, and we have, my son and I have pictures that are eerily similar in terms of pose, expression, background, right? And I'm going, but for that one decision, that would be a picture of us on that screen.
Emotional for you guys.
It was eerie. It's really haunting.
Jay, are you, like, there was Hamish on the submersible that's been to space before. There was the French diver that had done many dives. Had you ever done any sort of exploration or anything like this? Or is it just simply because of your son's historical fascination with the Titanic that you considered this?
I mean, I like doing exciting things. I like doing experiences. I'm a believer that all we are is a collection of our experiences, right? So I don't mind taking risks, but they should be calculated risks. Have I done things like this? I'm a helicopter pilot, right?
You own a helicopter company, yeah.
Yeah, I've raced exotic cars. We've gone hot air ballooning, right? I mean, we do think I've driven police cars and chases.
Like, how close were you to saying yes? Like, you can say no, yes. Did you guys really actually consider it? Like, we are going to do this?
I was at yes, and then
you were at yes.
I was at yes, and then as we learned more, we kind of backed off of that position.
What do you think you learned from this? What do you think, if anything, you say to yourself, well, after having this experience, I'm never going to blah, 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 blah. Like, finish that sentence. What did you learn from this?
So I would say a couple things. One, I learned that it hit me that tomorrow's never promised, right? And you should really live your life, you know, like you don't know if tomorrow's going to come, right? I saw somebody, a speaker one time, and he said he had a group of people he was speaking to, and he said, if I offered $10 million, who would take it? And every hand in the room went up. And then he said, what if I told you that if you take it, you don't wake up tomorrow morning? And every hand went down. And he said, so what you're telling me is that tomorrow's worth more than $10 million to you.
Wow.
And it was like
That's
pretty
logical when you think of it.
pretty deep thought, right?
It is, yeah.
And people take tomorrow for granted. Everybody just assumes you're going to wake up tomorrow, everything's going to be fine, but that's not always the case. In fact, for every single person, there will come a day where that's not the case.
And it's an interesting perspective. And when you talk to people that are not billionaires like yourself, people make assumptions about people with a lot of money, right? I'm sure you've heard that plenty of times in your life. They're not like other people. They're weird. They're different. They have no sense of reality. I would imagine you've gotten that a lot in your life because I've met plenty of billionaires. Everybody's different, right?
Yes. I know a lot of people with money. I know a lot of people without money.
Right.
Everybody's different. There are certainly really weird people I know that don't have money.
Right.
You know, and it's everybody's unique. You know, we all, like I said, we're a collection of our experiences, and that makes us all different.
Yeah. No, I certainly agree with that.
Bank account doesn't change that.
No, you're right. I agree. And this is, we all take calculated risks in life, one point or another. This is a different type of risk. Do you think it should be illegal? Do you think moving forward when people have these sorts of expeditions and there are so many different safety, irregularities or whatever you want to call it, it should be against the law, should it not?
Well, that's the problem. Stockton was diving in international waters where there is no law.
That's what I heard.
Right? So there's no way to regulate it legally. I think the solution would be if they had some kind of industry association that certifies each individual member, and then the public should just know that if it's not certified by this organization, don't go.
Doesn't that seem ridiculous, though, that it was not certified, but you could do it because it was in international waters, but wouldn't most of those vessels be in international waters, so it defeats the purpose?
All of them are in international waters.
So none have to be certified, so the point of certification is irrelevant.
Right, that's right. But when you look at someone, like, he's not the only one that went to the Titanic, right? So Bob Ballard, the guy who discovered it, he went to the Titanic. He was the guy who discovered it, but he did it in partnership with the United States Navy.
Right.
Right, so he had resources, he had expertise, he had, experience on his team to do it and do it safely, right? James Cameron, right?
Who's been very outspoken and done a lot of interviews lately as
He's
well.
done 33 dives to the Titanic.
Yeah, but I mean, everybody in the industry was yelling at Stockton, "You're out of your mind. You're going to get people killed." And Stockton was just so passionate about this project that it blinded him, right? There's something called confirmation bias, right? And what that means is when somebody would come to Stockton with a fact, no matter how ridiculous, if it supported his position, he would just accept it as true. And no matter how credible, if it refuted his position, he would dismiss it as just somebody else's opinion that doesn't know.
Is that arrogant?
Sounds like somebody who was the former president of the United States, but we don't have to. We don't have to go there. So, how's your son dealt with this?
He's taken it in stride. I mean, he's very analytical, and he's a very smart kid, and he's been asked before in other conversations about would you go down to the Titanic if the opportunity presented itself again, and he said yeah, if it was with James Cameron or with Bob Ballard,
right?
But if you told me you built a sub in your backyard, no. Right? Same with space. If Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Richard Branson said, hey, grab a seat, come on, we're going to go into space. Yeah, hell yeah, that sounds like a great time. But if you told me you built a rocket in your backyard, bon voyage, good luck.
If this mission went successfully like it was supposed to, would you have any kind of regret?
No, because this thing is a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
This was going to happen. It was just a question of when. It's Russian roulette getting on that thing.
I agree.
Could I ask you, it's 2 hours down, 4 hours exploring, 2 hours back up. That was supposed to be, but you're paying for a 7 or 8 day mission. What are you doing the other 7 or 8 days?
So it's 3 days to get to the dive site.
It takes that long?
Yeah, you're going on an icebreaker because it's the North Atlantic. So it's 3 days from the Northeast United States. 3 days to the dive site, 2 days at the site, and then 3 days to get back.
Are you training or anything, or
Nope.
just you literally just hop in there and they
Yep.
do the rest?
And I'm like the kind of person, I'm pretty claustrophobic. I don't even like getting on an airplane, right? I would imagine you guys are not, but like I would be freaking out.
Me too.
I mean, it's very small in there. It's tight quarters. It looks scary and uncomfortable. I mean, listen, everybody's different, right? I also wouldn't jump out of a plane in a parachute either. But like that didn't bother you at all either. Like it's such small quarters in there.
It's about the size of a minivan,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like there aren't seats. You're laying on the floor,
Right.
right, or sitting on the floor, and it's like the back of one of the old station wagons.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, from what I understand, it was comfortable. I mean, not ideal. It's not exactly a Mercedes interior, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I can understand some people could deal with that. What's the last thing you said to Stockton Rush before he left? What do you, or I should say, what was like the last conversation you had with him?
In May, when he asked me to go and he offered me that discount, we spoke on the phone, and I told him that I'm going to be traveling for business, and from a scheduling perspective, it's not going to work this time around. So let the seats go to somebody else, and let's keep in touch, and let's look at next season, next summer, and we'll look at going then.
So you were kind of putting it off and being nice, but the real reason, you didn't really tell him, it's because I don't trust you. I don't trust how the safety. So you were just trying to be nice and, all right, let's not do it now. Let's do it another time, because you just didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, no. If I said we're not going to go because your sub is a death trap,
right,
it would have been a shouting match, because
Right.
he got super defensive about it.
Do you think this is a problem? These billionaires, they all have like these space companies now, like SpaceX, Jeff Bezos one, Blue, Richard Branson's
Blue Origin
one.
and Virgin Galactic.
Are they that prideful and, for lack of a better term, can be arrogant and so confident in their ability they're almost racing against each other to prove who can do it first for their legacy over the basic safety requirements, or is that unfair?
No, I think they're very aware of the basic safety requirements. They're not worried about spending money to be safe, right? And that was Stockton's problem, right? Because he was self-funding this, and he had some investors, but he didn't have the resources of an Elon Musk or a Jeff Bezos, So he was looking for ways to save money, and he thought the way to save money was by carving back some of that built-in margin on some of the safety limits.
I mean, is this hard for me to ask you this, but would you consider, he's dead now, but would you consider Stockton Rush a man who killed 4 innocent people, whether involuntary or not. I think of like maybe this is a bad comparison, but a drunk driver. You get into a car drunk. You said this, and I agree with you. You're playing Russian roulette with society. You don't mean to kill people, but because of your irresponsibility and your behavior and your actions, you can kill people if you drive drunk. I think Stockton Rush, this is manslaughter what he did. And he's dead now, so I get that. But, like, he killed these people. Let's call it for what it is, right?
I think that's fair. I mean, he didn't intend to hurt anybody. And he was definitely negligent in what he did, but he did it out of a place of passion. He has a good heart. He was a good guy, but he was just blinded, and he wasn't making reasoned decisions. He was making passionate, emotional decisions, and it clouded his judgment. He drank his own Kool-Aid.
TMZ released the waivers that they had to sign before getting on the submersible. Those things were terrifying in themselves, reading them. How they're pretty much saying...
You can't sue.
Yeah. There's no real legal ground here, and gave every explanation of what could go wrong during this mission. That doesn't work like that if they're deemed there's other forms of negligence they can go through, obviously, but... Well, and there's no fraud by omission, right? So you can say, hey, that waiver's not valid because he didn't tell me the viewing window wasn't rated to, 4,500 meters. He didn't tell me that fiberglass isn't safe for a hull material. That fiberglass that he used was rejected for aviation
He
use.
had to have known that.
Oh, he knew it.
If he was alive and didn't go on that, he didn't captain it, he'd be up for a manslaughter charge, probably?
He'd go to jail. They have to, right?
There's in international waters. Nobody has jurisdiction to prosecute.
Oh, my God.
Wow. That is... I didn't even think about that. That's wild, man. That's crazy. Well, listen, I'm so glad that you and your son decided to not go on. What would be your message to the families that have lost loved ones? What would you say to them?
Different messages to different families. For Stockton and for PH. I mean, PH was 77. Those two, they died doing what they love to do, right? For the man from London, the single guy, Hamish.
Yep.
I mean, it's tragic, but he was a daredevil. He had a lot higher risk tolerance than I had, right? And he knew the risks and he took them. And for the father and son, I think they just put too much trust into Stockton without doing their homework. And I tell the family it's a horrible loss.
Yeah.
Could have been worse, believe it or not. This, when that third situation would have been way worse.
Yeah.
So take comfort in that.
Did you know any of them?
No, I just knew PH and I knew Stockton. I knew 2 of the 5 on the sub.
Yeah. It's tragic. Should have never happened. Obviously, I'm glad that you're here to tell your story, and hopefully nobody will make the same mistakes that those people made on that submersible. Here's what I want to do. I want to take a break, Jay, and when we come back, I want to talk to you about some other topics.
Okay.
You're a Las Vegas local, highly involved with a lot of different projects and a lot of things going on here, so I want to switch topics a little bit with you. If you're just joining us, we're joined by Las Vegas billionaire, estate developer, Jay Bloom. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to pick Jay's brain about possibly an NBA franchise coming here to Las Vegas, and I think we're going to get into a little bit of politics as well. I want to talk to him a little bit about the state of politics, not just in the state of Nevada, but the division we have in this country. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this with Jay Bloom. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Gwynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit sapphirepoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
The best choice for convenience, comfort, and value, My Place hotels are ideal for both short-term and long-term travelers. The rooms at My Place features pillow-top mattresses, microfiber bedding, and a variety of soft and firm pillows. All extended stay rooms offer their own kitchen, which includes a full-size refrigerator and a cooktop. On-site laundry facilities are also available for extended stays at pet-friendly My Place hotels. Book your stays online at myplacehotels.com. My Place Hotels, St. George and West Jordan, Utah. Make My Place your place.
Shopping is always easy with the Radio Shopping Show. Whether it's shopping during any one of our live shows right here on AM 1400 or listening live on the KSHP app, you can always call in at 702-221-7283 to pick up great deals with your favorite host. Or shop 24/7 at kshp.com. Go to kshp.com and select Shopper's Guide to browse hundreds of businesses featured on the show. Place your order online and we'll have it shipped right to your front door. With so many possibilities, it's hard not to shop.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Check them out, man. They got some great promotions next month, including if you hit 4 to the Royal, not 5, but 4 to the Royal, you get a chance to spin the wheel to win up to $3,000. Great food, great atmosphere. Please check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill. Joining us in studio right now, he is Las Vegas billionaire real estate developer Jay Bloom. We talked about how he was so close to getting on that submersible. Thank God he didn't. Him and his son did not. But you know, he's involved in politics in this city. We're going to get into some politics with him. But before I do that, Jay, we've been trying to get an NBA team here for a very, very long time. And I always thought, you know, because Oscar Goodman is a friend of mine, and I thought him bringing the NBA All-Star game here was a good start. What the Knights have done is incredible. But I always, if you asked me 20 years ago, I would have said an NBA team is the first professional team we're going to get here. Number one, why has it not happened yet? And number two, what progress have you made personally in maybe trying to get a team to come here?
So there's only so much I'm going to be able to talk about on this one.
Okay.
So I used to know David Stern. And David Stern was dead set against an NBA team coming here. because of the gaming. And with David at the helm, it was never even a consideration, right? And now that David is gone, and gaming is so prevalent both online and pretty much in every state, it's become more acceptable. So now the NBA, Adam Silver's like, okay, well let's do some expansion franchises. And because of COVID and the amount of revenue lost by the NBA team owners, they're looking at two different expansion franchises, one here and one in Seattle. So originally, before they announced, they still haven't announced that they're doing two expansion franchises, but it's kind of like everybody knows, right?
Yeah, we've heard.
So before that got out, though, I was looking at, I actually was in a negotiation to buy the Minnesota Timberwolves and relocate them here. And then this came out, and they wanted $2.5 billion for a franchise fee, which was more than I was paying for the Timberwolves, right? A lot more. And I said they're not going to accept a relocation fee and give up the expansion franchise fee. So I scrapped that plan and moved to looking at buying this expansion franchise, and I put together an ownership group that's actually really pretty good. So I had some great partners in the ownership group. I think the only one that's public is Tony Robbins, but I have some great partners. But it went from 2.5 to 3. Then the Phoenix Suns sold for 4, and now I'm looking at maybe 5. Plus, you need working capital and you need an arena.
So we're still a little ways away.
Yeah. So I don't. There's a couple of groups in contention that have the ability to pull it off, the right people and the right access to capital. Then there's a bunch of people that want to do it but can never pull it off.
You've had private conversations with Adam Silvers about this?
I haven't, but my partners have.
Your partners have?
Yeah.
Can you share about any of that with us? Like, how did that go, or whatever you can tell us?
My belief is that Vegas will see a team in the next couple of years.
Do you believe you'll be part of that?
Don't know yet. I mean, it's going to cost 3 times what I originally projected it to cost on the same economics.
Is that worth it, being a billionaire and knowing business, I should say?
Well, if you're Elon Musk or like Larry Ellison, and you can write a $5 billion check, and just because you want to own a team and the economics don't really matter, it becomes a trophy asset. Then yeah, it's worth it because it makes you happy.
So at that price, it's more of a trophy asset than an investment.
I'm still doing the math on that, but I'm concerned it's slipping into that category.
This is very different than 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, and some of these owners of these NBA teams that will buy a team for not even a fraction of what they sell it for, and the profits, right, that they're making from it. It's very expensive these days to buy a team. Even 10 years ago, things have changed a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mark Cuban is 10x on his team's value, probably 30x on his team's value.
Right.
And the Timberwolves were 10x on the value from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So there's just skyrocketing.
So a couple of years. You think a couple of years we're going to get an expansion team, and it's going to be in a couple of years.
Yeah, and whether it's my group or another group, there'll be a team here.
What do you think about the A's thing? Because you must have opinions on that. This is a very bad baseball team that doesn't like spending a lot of money for a winning team. There's a lot of, including Bryce Harper, who's made some public statements saying we should have an expansion team. We shouldn't be getting the A's. They don't have a good relationship with the Raiders. What do you make of this as someone with very good business sense that you have? Do you think this is good or bad for Vegas?
Ultimately, I think it's going to be good. We have a very different fan base here than Oakland has, right? And we had the same thing when the Raiders moved here. The fan base is just different, and I think that'll translate over the years to more success on behalf of the team because they're going to get more support here. And I think the same is true with the A's. I think Vegas is going to rally. We just have a fan base that is extraordinary. I mean, I remember I was part of the founding 50 for the Golden Knights that brought the team here with Bill Foley. And, everybody, I talked to Gary Bettman in the NHL, and he said, so you think people are really going to come to a hockey game in the middle of the desert? And I said, look, I moved here from New York. And in New York, we had the Giants and the Jets. We had the Knicks and the Nets. We had the Devils, the Islanders, the Rangers. We had like 2 and 3 teams in every sport. And I said, I moved out to Vegas with my son when he was 1 year old, and I said, what do we got? We have the Wranglers for hockey, right? We have the Area 51s.
Yep.
Right. I mean, it was a city that was starved for sports, and we have 41 million tourists a year.
Right.
Right. So I said it's gonna crush it, and I'll tell you, I wasn't really a hockey fan prior to the Knights. I'd been in one game in my life, and I don't watch it on TV, and it was extraordinary what happened with the Knights when they first started.
It was
their first game was a week after the 1 October shooting, right? And just the emotion that took over that arena.
It was incredible.
It was so powerful, and they just ingratiated themselves. Bill Foley's done an amazing job.
I played a round of golf with him like 3 years ago, by accident, by the way. And you'd never know that he had the money that he had, and he was the person that he is. Just a pretty cool dude, and
He's
a
such
nice guy. Yeah, really nice guy, well spoken, and I'm really happy for that organization. I couldn't agree with you more. Let's switch a little bit to politics here. I mean, I mentioned that you're coming on the show, and some right wingers did not have some nice things to say about you, as many don't have nice things to say about me
or anyone.
And I'm sure you've heard this in your life, mainly from right wing radicals that will claim, oh, he's not a billionaire. He's a fraud. Jay Bloom isn't a billionaire. He doesn't have that kind of money.
Shut the hell up.
Yeah. And how do you deal with those people, or do you even deal with them at all?
Well, look, I don't really talk about my assets and my net worth, and they can, but I'm not here to impress them. I'm not here to prove anything to them. I don't care what they believe. Frankly, I'd rather they believe I don't have anything, because they'll leave me alone.
Unlike Trump.
Yeah.
And I mean, Trump is just such a crazy anomaly. But I'll tell you what, though, it's radicals on both sides. There's two sides to this coin. The Bernie people, the far left, is as bad as the far right.
You believe that today? Because
in 2016, they've backed off. But in 2016, the Bernie people were so radicalized. I mean, the far left takes some extreme positions too. I'm a moderate, right? And I'm a fiscal conservative and a social liberal, right? I don't care what people do, and as long as it doesn't affect other people around them.
Completely agree.
But we shouldn't be running, $10 trillion deficit spending in a 4-year period, right? So I think there's a fiscal conservancy and a social liberalness that defines most of America. But most of America doesn't go out to primaries. The ones that go out to primaries are the ones that are supercharged, and it's the far left and the far right.
You ever decide that you ever think of running for office, or is this just not your thing?
I run from office.
Why though? I mean, you're a powerful guy. You're financially very well off. You're a very successful businessman. People like you, usually decide, hey, one day I think I might run. You're politically, you're active. You donate to. I mean, why have you decided never to run?
I can't figure out why people do run. Right, it is the most thankless job. It's not for the money. It's not for. I don't know why people run. I'm glad they do, because somebody has to do it, and I have a history of backing candidates that generally win, and they're generally moderate. But boy, the scrutiny they undergo, and what do they get for it?
That's true.
I don't understand why someone with your wealth would run. You have a lovely life, you have your businesses, you have your family, and everything's going to be scrutinized, and all of a sudden half America's going to hate you, whether they like it or not.
No matter what you do.
So it brings me to the question, why in 2016 do you think Trump ran?
Honestly, I think Trump ran as a marketing stunt.
So do I. Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I knew Donald when I was in New York, and as did a lot of our circles, and he was not well liked and not well respected. He was kind of a know-it-all blowhard who's not that smart, and he was partners with my wife's family in a retail chain, and so they knew him. They'd been out on the Trump Princess, and in New York, to know him is not to like him.
Do you ever have any personal time with him? Ever go to dinners with him, or?
I had time with him. I used to work for a bank that's now J.P. Morgan Chase, so I dealt with him there. So yes, I've had time with him. He's invited me to dinner 3 times, and I've declined all 3 times.
When was the latest?
In 2016.
So he invites you to dinner. What does he say to you? He just texts you, or?
No, people call me and say, hey, he's going to be in Vegas. Do you have time for dinner? I'm like, Busy. I'm going on the sub to the Titanic.
So why you just don't like him personally, as I don't either, but like why did you make the ultimate decision not to have dinner with him?
He's such an enigma, because when you're in the room with him, he's really likable, right? And he's kind of ingratiating, but at the same time he knows it all and he just lashes out and he's mean and petty, and he's all about himself. He's a self-promoter like I've never seen before.
Do you believe, Jay, that he knows he lost the election? He knows, or do you believe he's such a psychopath narcissist that he actually believes he won in 2020?
I think he knows he lost, but he doesn't care, right? Because it's for him, perception is reality, right? And he's, I think running for president is what made him really a billionaire, actually, right? Because he gets his supporters to contribute blindly, no matter what. Here we have a guy who's been indicted twice, right? Who's probably going to be convicted, and with more indictments coming. And yet he's running for president, and his supporters still say he's our guy.
I agree. But let me go to the other side here. Now, I voted for Joe Biden. It was more of an anti-Donald Trump vote. I don't, and listen, I'm an independent, but we probably agree on a lot of things politically. I don't want Joe Biden to run again, not because I think he's this bad guy, right? I just think he's too old. But let me ask you this. Who would you like to see run on the Democratic side right now?
Oh, boy. So I got asked this question from some senators in Washington. And I said, there is nobody on the bench that can beat DeSantis right now, right? If DeSantis runs as a Republican, because I don't think Trump's going to get the nomination. But if DeSantis runs, I can't think of anybody that's on the bench that can beat him.
You don't think Joe Biden would beat him?
I don't know that he would.
What about Gavin Newsom? No?
Two left?
Yeah, I think the middle America would look at him as a liberal Californian, and he'd have problems in some
Why
of
are
the swing states.
DeSantis' numbers so bad, though?
Well, so what I told the senators that asked me, I said, you got to go outside the bench. You got to go off the bench, and you got to go outside of professional politicians, because people are tired of the professional politicians. So they said, who are you thinking? And I said, you're gonna laugh. They said, just tell me. I said, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I said, he would win.
I'm going to give you another name. And by the way, I don't
think he would too.
I don't disagree with you.
So
Jay.
they polled him.
Yeah.
They polled it. He got 57% of the Republicans and 57% of the Democrats.
He used to be a Republican. Now he's turned more.
He's a moderate.
But Jay, I think if Michelle Obama ran, which I know she doesn't want to,
She won't.
But if she did, it'd be a landslide victory.
It would, but she wants nothing to do with the White House ever again.
Why would she? She has a house in Hawaii now.
What
a
about
house in
Shapiro?
Martha's
Not me. The Shapiro that's in Pennsylvania. I like him.
He doesn't have the name recognition, and I don't know that he has the ability to build it.
Could you name one Democrat now besides, well, The Rock, who I would assume is a Democrat, that you could say, want him to run, beat Ron DeSantis? Who would that be? Can you name me anybody else, or maybe a current? Like, I like Booker, but I agree with you.
So Cory Booker's actually a good friend of mine. He's one of the people that came out. His mom lives here in Vegas.
See, this guy could get me all these guests, you know? Look at this. Guy knows everybody.
You always, why did you just say Trump, it's going to be DeSantis? Because Trump's 40 points ahead. Do you seriously think he's going to drop out, or from an indictment, from a felony charge? He doesn't have to.
I think he's going to have problems between now and the election that are going to pull him out of the race.
Have we been saying that for years? And it never happens. That's where I'm going.
But
we were
where
saying
I'm
he's going to
worried.
get indicted for years, and it finally happened. So it doesn't happen until it happens.
But Jay, that's where I'm worried,
numbers
though.
go up.
I know.
But Jay, that's where I'm worried, and I agree with you. I think Ron DeSantis probably beats Joe Biden. Trump would not beat Joe Biden. That's what worries me. And I think this is bad for Democrats.
So the scenario I'm hoping for is DeSantis gets the Republican nomination, and Trump gets so mad he starts his independent party and runs as an independent, runs as a Trump party, kind of like what he did with Twitter.
Yeah.
Right? He got so mad that he got kicked off of Twitter, he started his own competing product.
I just don't know how you two can think this can happen, that DeSantis can run.
No, I
Trump
agree with Jay.
refuses to go away. Refuses. When has he ever gone away or said sorry or said no?
He might be.
He's not going anywhere. His supporters aren't
He might
going
have so
anywhere.
much pressure, and especially with felonies and everything else.
He will never concede. He will go to the grave not conceding.
Boy, I don't know. I can see where Jay's going with this, and I'm worried about Ron DeSantis. I really am. I always have. He's a dictator. I think he's worse than Trump.
Yeah,
You agree?
Well, so I don't know Ron, And again, there are politicians that are. I know a lot of Republicans. I mean, I supported Joe Lombardo this cycle, right? I know a lot of Republicans that are good because they're moderate.
Why
But
Lombardo over Sisolak, though? You lean to the left. Are you a registered Democrat?
I was a registered Democrat.
Yeah.
Well, so I was a registered Republican around the Reagan years, and then I went to independent, nonpartisan, and then I went to Democrat, and now I'm back to nonpartisan.
I don't blame you.
I haven't changed. I'm still the same person.
Right,
The
I don't
party's
blame you.
changed.
Yeah.
The party's changed, right?
Yeah.
If you remember Ronald Reagan, he's the one who did blanket immigration amnesty, right? I mean, he's the one. I had this conversation. Cory Booker was. I was talking to him about. There's a law that's pending, the Safe Banking Act, to make federal banking legal for marijuana, right? And I was talking to Cory about it. It's getting through. It's getting through the House, and it's getting stuck in the Senate because of Cory. And Cory's trying to add some social justice programs onto the bill, and he supports the bill, but he's trying to add some social justice programs. And I said, you don't want to throw away the good for the sake of the perfect, right? And I said, do you know who first proposed universal health care? Richard Nixon.
Old school Republicans.
Yeah, and the Democrats said no because we want to go further. Take the win and then build on it.
Agree. I couldn't agree with you more. And it's, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we're more divided politically and maybe even racially. I'm 43 years old in my entire life than right now. I put a lot of that on Donald Trump. I feel like Donald Trump gave people a platform to be comfortable with their racism and their bigotry. Why is it that Republicans are obsessed with transgenders? Why is it they're obsessed with this? And then when it comes to gun control and kids being shot up in schools, oh, let's just arm our kindergarten teachers. They don't think that's a big problem with guns, but yet they think drag queens reading books to kids is the sky's falling.
No, the priorities are way out of whack, no question about it. And, I talk to people that are like gun lovers, and I mean, I have guns. I have a concealed carry permit, right? But it's not a way of life for me. And when I talk to them, they all cite the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms. Like, do you know what the Second Amendment actually says? It says, for the purposes of a well-regulated militia, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed.
And by the way, that's when muskets were available.
Well, so it doesn't define what a militia is, but the Hamilton Papers do. And the Hamilton Papers define a militia as male, landowner, white, and 20 to 40 years old.
Right.
So that's who under the Constitution is allowed to have guns, and only if they're part of a well-regulated militia, which eventually turned into the National Guard.
Yeah.
No, it's a Second Amendment, Second Amendment, Second Amendment. Do you think Republicans are focusing too much on this cultural war they're having, especially like DeSantis and other people like that? Because, I mean, this election, Gen Z are going to be able to vote. They seem very, very to the left socially, like a lot of other people. Do you think that will hurt them not focusing more on the issues, which is inflation, the deficit, stuff like that?
Yeah, and look, there's fault on both sides, right? There are things that Joe Biden did that I don't agree with.
Me too.
And I don't have a problem, saying it. And I know Joe, and I like Joe. But I think he's made some missteps. I think the Ukraine war, right? That didn't have to happen. For 30 years, no matter who was in the White House, they knew to say Ukraine is not going to be part of NATO, because if Ukraine joins NATO, you're going to have NATO troops, American tanks and American forces 300 miles from Moscow.
So you think Biden caused this?
I think Biden played a big role in the Ukraine war. And
That's
I say that
interesting.
as a fan of Biden.
That's
right?
interesting.
It's a big statement. I like it.
You might not be wrong on that. I'll tell you what, I'd love to have you back on the show, maybe dive deep, maybe into some more political issues. But let me just say this. First of all, thank you so much for being here. I'm glad you're here.
Same.
I'm glad you, my gosh, I'm glad you and your son made the right decision, man. And you should have never been put in that situation to begin with to even have to make that decision. So I'm so happy that you made the right decision and you're here. I appreciate you telling your story. And yeah, I mean, I certainly hope if we do get an NBA team, which we will soon, I agree, that you'll be a part of it. Because, you've been living here for 2 decades. You understand this city very, very well. You're very successful. That would be an understatement with what you do. So I hope you're a part of it. But yeah, I'd love to have you back in and maybe pick your brain on some more political stuff, man. I really appreciate you coming in. I know this is a little different than like a 4 or 5 minute interview on CNN. We can dive into a lot of different issues here.
No, it's great.
But Jay, I really appreciate you being here. Nice to meet you, and I'd love to have you back on down the road.
Well, thank you. It was great to be here.
Yeah.
Really great to be here.
Yes, yes.
and yeah, this was a lot of fun.
One more quick thing. Is it weird that you and your son got replaced with a father and a son pretty much exactly the same age?
I think that's what made it hit home so
Yeah,
much, right?
yeah.
Because, like I said, I'd see their photographs on the news, and I'm like, we were one decision away from that
I
being
look
us.
at you and it's the same. Like
It really is wild. Jay, here's what I want you to do next time. Hopefully, if we can get you back in studio, just for all your naysayers out there, can you just bring $1 billion cash in with you? Is that okay? Just bring a couple suitcases.
How about a check?
Yeah, just write me a check for $1 billion. I promise I won't cash it. Okay, I promise I won't.
Go sell all your assets.
Jay, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it, and glad you live here in Vegas and you call Vegas your home, my man. You're a good dude, and like I've said a bunch of times in this hour, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you weren't on that submersible. Thank God for that. Jay Bloom, everybody, appreciate him being here. All right, everybody, we're going to take a 22-hour break. And we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great afternoon, everybody. TC Martin Show coming up next.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more.